Is Blade Runner still a good movie? Let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Karl. Welcome back to my movie film show. Feel free to subscribe down below if you would like to, if you haven't been here before, of course, or even if you haven't and haven't subscribed for some reason. Today we're starting off a brand new series here on the channel, Retro Movie Reviews. What's a classic movie that everybody says is great that you haven't seen yet? Let me know in the comment section below. So to kick off this series, I picked the 1982 Ridley Scott movie, Blade Runner. You got Ridley Scott directing, you got Harrison Ford in the lead, it's a sci-fi movie. What more does a movie need? So this movie is based on a 1968 book by Philip K. Dick called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And this movie came out in 1982, as I said, but it's set in 2019, which is just over 50 years from when the book was released. But at the time of this review, it's the year 2023, 4 years after the movie is set. So now we can safely say they kind of got the future wrong, like a lot of movies do. We don't quite have flying cars yet, not sure if we even need flying cars. The world's not so dystopian as every future movie seems to think that the world is going to be. So in the world that we're set up with, there's replicants, which are androids, humanoid robot thingies, which are basically slaves off-world to do work that people don't want to do. They are banned on Earth. They're not allowed on Earth. They're stronger than humans, but they have the same intelligence levels, I believe, is the setup at the start of the movie. And at the beginning of the movie, it's explained that Deckard, played by Harrison Ford, is a Blade Runner. They hunt down replicants who escape and who try to get to where they shouldn't be. Replicants aren't allowed on Earth. Of course, there's going to be some replicants on the loose. So Harrison Ford has to chase them down and stop them. Now, my one problem with Blade Runner when I was watching it, the first time especially, is I kept thinking to myself, why are they going after replicants? Sure, replicants are bad. Great, but why? They never really explain why, other than humans fear them because they're stronger, I guess, although humans designed. And I remember this has always been one thing that struck me with Blade Runner when watching it. The replicants never really do anything bad per se. Apart from Roy Batty does kill someone eventually. At the beginning, they definitely don't do anything wrong. They're just on the run. They're trying to get their freedom. They're trying to find out a way of staying alive because they only have a life cycle of 4 years. And it's interesting because towards the end of the movie, you're kind of led down the path of thinking, are the Blade Runners actually the bad guys? Is Harrison Ford actually the bad guy all along? And he certainly has moments that make him a bad guy. In particular, there's one scene I remember where Rachel, one replicant in the movie, who isn't one of the replicants he's chasing down, she's just a different replicant. She's like a newer generation replicant he's introduced to at the beginning of the movie. She's sitting playing at a piano and he comes over and he kisses her and she pulls away and she goes to leave. And then he slams the door shut and pushes her up against a wall and forcefully kisses her. And all of a sudden I'm like, it's a bit weird. He's supposed to be the good guy. What's going on? Why is this scene getting rapey? And then furthermore, he holds her in place and tells her to tell him that she wants him to kiss her. There's a lot of telling back and forth there.
Say, kiss me. Kiss me.
Then he further tells her what to say again, and then we skip to the next scene and it's just left assuming that they went off and did whatever they did together. But it was very forceful from Harrison Ford. Very, as I say, rapey scene there, which I'm assuming is intentionally just placed there as a seed to make you think, okay, maybe Deckard's actually the bad guy here all along. But one of the things with this movie is it keeps your mind racing, keeps you guessing all the way of what have the replicants actually done? Is Deckard the bad guy? What's fully going on here? Because even one of the replicants, she's got the snake and she runs away from Harrison Ford after initially knocking him down. He ends up shooting her in the street. Spoiler alert. For some reason she runs through 5 panes of glass, which I don't know why they had 5 panes of glass set up, but he just shoots her in cold blood in the middle of the street. And in his voiceover we hear that he has remorse, and this is one of the reasons he didn't want to be a Blade Runner anymore. Again, it sets up that the Blade Runners are the bad guys. That moral dilemma in there. They're just doing what they're told to do. Replicants are bad for some reason that hasn't been explained, and he has to shoot them down. But the story has more substance to it than is on the face of it. The ending is quite interesting as well because it's not what you expect. But overall, the story aspect of the movie is quite unique for a sci-fi movie, quite unique for a movie nowadays, because, you know, we're currently in that phase of the world still where we're doing so many reboots and remakes and original stories are becoming harder and harder to come by. The pacing of the movie is far slower than you might expect from this type of movie, but it works really well for this movie. There's certain movies where slower pace just really works. It really allows you to settle into this world. And even though this movie is set 4 years, you know, previous to where we are in the world right now, the setting of this dystopian future, it's really cool visuals. A lot of neon in there just to set up the world, flying cars, some very interesting wide shots of these strange looking buildings, the different clothing styles, the different gangs roaming the streets, the weapons they have. All this thing really comes together and adds really well to build this world. This movie had a credit on it, which I haven't seen too much. I think it was Future Visualist or Visualist Future or Futuristic Visualist. Basically, it's someone's job to visualize what the future will be like. I never quite understand why they don't set these movies like 1,000 years into the future, because that might make a little bit more sense than setting it like 50 years in the future. From where the movie was shot, it's what, 40 years into the future-ish? And obviously in that time span, the world did change a lot in unexpected ways. Like a lot of people couldn't at the time fathom home computers. They weren't going to be a big thing, let alone home computers that are going to be in everybody's house. Stuff like this, a little computer you're going to have in your pocket that's super powerful, connected to the internet, and you can contact anybody, get any information you want, take pictures, you can find out the time, you can book tickets to your local movie theater, you can make a movie on it. Nobody could fathom that back then when this movie was being made, and that's evident because it's not in movies like this. And of course, even stuff like the internet wasn't a thing. So maybe this is more a look at what the world could have become if we didn't get all this technology. But overall, they did create a really cool, unique world in this movie. The interesting thing with Blade Runner is when it came out, it was actually met with a lot of negative reviews. A lot of people just didn't get it. They didn't like it. They found it obnoxious. They found it slow pacing to be quite bad, and I think a lot of people still have those hesitations with the movie. A lot of people don't like slower paced movies. And Ridley Scott obviously went on to make some phenomenal movies beyond this and even before this, but it's certainly a very strong, very enjoyable, very unique sci-fi movie. Is it one of Ridley Scott's best movies? In my opinion, no, but that's partially because he made so many. It's definitely better than Prometheus though, so you know, that was pretty shit. But there's so much to enjoy about this movie, from Harrison Ford's performance, the futuristic setting, the interesting story, the cool, unique ending. If you haven't seen Blade Runner, I'd highly recommend it. So ultimately, it's going to come down to a rating out of 10, like we always do for any movie review here on Karl's Movie Film Show. And for me, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Might surprise some people. A lot of people will be out and saying it should be 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. I think Blade Runner inspired a lot of filmmakers down the years, and it continues to do so going forward. Certainly Denis Villeneuve. But let me know in the comment section below what you think of Blade Runner. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What do you think of my rating? Would you give it higher? Would you give it less? And if you've got a suggestion for another retro movie review to do, any movie in the history of time to review, let me know all about it in the comment section below as well. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm Irish, and recently was St. Patrick's Day, so I decided to do a director spotlight on an Irish filmmaker called Jim Sheridan. That video is right over here to check out. If you've already seen that one, got one about Tarantino, it's right over here to check out. And all that being said, I'll catch you in the next video.